Hi, thanks for tuning in for a little bit more of Crenshaw. If you're following along by chance, we're on page 101, chapter 21. If you ever have to live in your car, you are going to have some problems with feet, especially if you're stuck in here with your little sister and your mom and your dad and your puppy and your imaginary friend. There are many kinds of feet problems. Stinky dad feet, the magic marker smell of nail polish on your mom's toes because she says she still wants to look nice, so please just deal with it. Sister feet kicking you just as you're falling asleep. The scratchy surprise of dog feet trying to wake you up. Imaginary friend feet tiptoeing on your head. I thought hard about feet problems, and finally I came up with a plan. What's the worst that can happen is how I figured it. When I did this, I took a cardboard TV box that we found behind Walmart. I smashed it flat. I drew on the outside of the box and the inside too. I had only 3 markers and one dried up when the cat fell off under the back seat. So it was mostly just red dogs with blue feet. With blue eyes, and blue cats with red eyes. I put stars on the inside. They seemed like a good thing to think about before you went to sleep. I wrote, "Keep out, Jackson's room" on the top. But he spelled room R-U-M. Mom said, "Too bad we had to leave our dictionary behind." Dad said, "If only it really was rum," because room is spelled R-O-O-M, but he forgot that. Every night I opened up my box and slipped my sleeping bag inside it, and then I crawled inside, and I felt like a caterpillar in a cocoon. It was almost like my old room, where I could think without anyone bugging me. When Robin kicked me in her sleep, she hit the box, which was not exactly the same as kicking me. Unfortunately, Aretha liked to sleep with me, so it could get a little dog breathy. Also, the box didn't help much with the stinky dad feet. I knew we were lucky because we had our old Honda minivan, which had lots of room. I met a kid who lived for a whole year in one of those VW cars. It was red and round like a ladybug and just about as tiny. The poor kid had to sleep sitting up, squished between his 2 little sisters. Another reason that we were lucky was because my sleeping box was just a decoration. Some people actually live in boxes on the street. I wasn't looking on the bright side. It's better to have a big car than a little one when you're living in it. And it's better to have a box in a car than a box on the street. Those are just facts. I wasn't like my dad, who kept saying that we weren't homeless. We were just car camping. Chapter 22. I didn't think much about the cat, tail, windshield wiper for a while. Things were so weird, I guess I didn't want to add any extra weirdness. Our first night in the minivan was kind of fun. We drove to a park near the Golden Gate Bridge. A man had a telescope to look at the sky, and he showed us the Big Dipper and Orion. Across the water, the lights of San Francisco covered the ground like lazy stars. We were going to just sleep in the parking lot, but a security guy knocked on the window, and he told us that we had to get moving, and then he waved his flashlight around like a Star Wars lightsaber. We drove to Denny's, a restaurant that's open 24 hours. My mom knew one of the cooks, and she asked the manager if we could park there just for one night. He said yes, and he even let us have some pancakes that were too burnt for the customers. We had more burnt pancakes in the morning, and by then everybody was grumpy and sore. Only Aretha was in a good mood. She loves pancakes. My parents didn't have any work scheduled that day, so we headed for the public library to kill some time and to wash up. My mom and dad took turns staying outside with Aretha. It's dangerous to leave a dog in a hot car. The library was air-conditioned and had soft chairs. The bathrooms were clean, which was a nice plus. I never used to think about things like, is a bathroom clean or not? Whenever I took a bath, my mom would say, Here comes Hurricane Jackson because I made such a mess. One of my favorite bath experiments is about something scientists call buoyancy. Will it float is what I call it. It can get a little messy, but it's very interesting. For example, if you drop a mostly full bottle of ketchup in the bathtub, it will not float, but it will turn the water an awesome color. It will also annoy your mom. We stayed at the library most of the day. The librarian in the children's department even shared her sandwich with Robin and me. She had Ritz crackers too, and she gave all of those to Robin. After that, Robin decided she was going to be a librarian when she grew up. If the animal scientist thing doesn't work out, I might become a librarian too. Chapter 23. We'd only been living in our van for 4 days when somebody stole my mom's purse, which had most of our money in it because my dad's wallet was falling apart. After we told a policeman he wanted to know our address so that if they found the money, they could give it back. We are between addresses, is what my mom told him. Ah, said the policeman. He nodded like he'd figured out a really hard math problem. My parents and the policeman talked for a while. He gave them address of 2 homeless shelters where people can sleep at night. The dads go to one place and the moms and the kids go to another, he explained. No way, said my dad. Not happening. Robin said, we are car camping. The policeman looked at Aretha, who was licking his shiny black shoe. He said that no animals are allowed in either shelter. I asked if that included puppies. Sadly, he said. I told him my teacher, Mr. Vandermeer, had pet rats. Rats are especially not allowed, said the policeman. There are good rats and bad rats, I told him. I said, white rats are the one that my teacher had, Harry and Hermione. They were very clean animals, but wild rats could make you sick. Then I told the policeman how Mr. Vandermeer was teaching his rats to play basketball with a teeny ball for a science experiments. Rats are amazingly intelligent. Basketball, the policeman repeated. He looked at my parents like maybe they should be worried about me, and then he gave my mom a little white card with phone numbers on it. Social services, shelters, food pantry, free clinic, he said. Check back with us about the theft. Meantime, hang in there, folks. We were almost to the car when I heard the policeman call, Hey, Ratman! I turned around. He waved me back, and when I got there, he said, How's their jump shot? The rats, I mean. Oh, not so good, I said, but they're kind of learning. They get treats when they do something right. It's called I couldn't remember. It was 2 long words. Positive reinforcement? Yep. Yeah, I could use some of that myself, said the policeman. He reached into his pocket and he pulled out a crumpled $20 bill. Give this to your dad, he said, but wait until you're in the car. I asked how come I had to wait, because otherwise he'll give it right back to me, the policeman said. How do you know? I asked. I know, he said. When I was inside the car, I gave the money to my dad. He looked like he was going to throw it out the window. I thought maybe he was going to yell at me, but he didn't. He just tapped his fingers on the steering wheel. Tap, tap, tap. Finally, he shoved the bill into his jeans pocket. Looks like dinner's on me, he said softly. Chapter 24. The next day, we dropped my mom at her part-time waitress job. Before she got out of the car, she looked at my dad and said, We have to apply for assistance, Tom. We'll be back on our feet before they deal with all the paperwork, he said. Still. Plus, we probably make too much money to qualify for help. Still. They looked at each other for a few long seconds, and finally my dad nodded. We went to an office called Social Services to find out about help. My dad filled out lots of forms while Robin and I sat on hard orange chairs. And then we went to 3 hardware stores where my dad put in applications for work. My dad grumbled about all the gas we used up. To cheer him up, I said, maybe we could feed the car water instead. He laughed a little then. Not having enough work is tough work, my dad told my mom when he joined us in the car after her shift. He took a deep breath and blew it out hard, like he was facing a birthday cake with too many candles. Dad, I said, I'm kind of hungry. Me too, buddy, he said. Me too. I almost forgot, my mom said, reaching into her tote bag. I grabbed some of the bagels that the chef was about to throw out. She pulled out a white paper sack. They're pretty stale, though, and they're pumpernickel. Well, that's a start, said my dad. He stared out the window. After a moment, he clapped his hands. Okay, let's get this show on the road. I guess I can't stall any longer. My mom touched his shoulder. Are you sure about this, Tom? She asked. I get my paycheck tomorrow, and we could go to the food pantry or the shelter. Nope, I got this. He smiled, but it didn't look like a real smile to me. I'd rather do a little performing than stand in another endless line at some office waiting for a handout. We drove to the back of the restaurant, and my dad found a nice clean box in the dumpster. Are you making a begging sign? I asked him. He'd been talking about it on and off with my mom since our money was stolen. Well, given that I'll be singing for our supper, he said, as he tore the box into pieces, I prefer to call it a request for gratuities. Well, what's a gratuity? I asked. A tip. Money you give someone like a waiter, my mom said. When we were young, your dad and I used to be street performers before we had regular gigs. Lots of musicians do it. I've got this down to a science, said my dad. First off, you need a cardboard sign, and then you need a busy intersection. The best corners have long stoplights. It might not hurt to take Aretha, my mom said. People love dogs, I told my dad. I bet you'll make a lot of money with a dog. Can I borrow a marker, Jackson? My dad asked. I handed him my blue marker. That guy on the corner by Target, he has a puppy. My dad studied a cardboard rectangle. No prop puppies. Wait, right, God bless at least, said my mom. Everybody writes God bless. Nope. As it happens, I have no idea what God is up to. My mom sighed. My dad scribbled something on the cardboard like he was in a hurry to be somewhere else. He held up the sign and asked what we thought. I didn't answer right away. In second grade, my dad got a D in penmanship, which is how you make your letters. He did not improve with age. What's it say? I asked. Thank you. Looks a lot like think you. He shrugged. Even better. All right, we will have to pause there. Tune in next time where we'll continue reading Crenshaw on chapter 25. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy your day.